Hello, dear viewer and listener, and people doing neither, and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland. We are officially bringing football back to the masses. It's almost like it's 2013 again. Look at these look at one lovely face, one lovely llama, and one little circle, because we couldn't figure out how to get Geoff's picture up. Anyway, I'm waffling already. So, my introductions, I've wrote this down. First up is Geoff Arsenal, going back-to-back podcast years for the first time since 2013. Football is all we have left now, isn't it, Geoff? Sad times that you're having to do back-to-back shows.
Yeah, you know what, Dan? I'm so excited because we've got the band back together.
It's I've got what is his name? Not Clarkson, the other one, not Hammond. Who's the other bloke on Top Gear?
Yeah, I know you sort of. I don't know. My
the other one.
Not good about stuff like that.
I've got fizzy balls, Geoff. That's what it's giving me. Fizzy balls. Like he's in a fast car.
You get cream for that, you know, Dan.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I have got boxes full of cream now that I'm the wrong side of 50. I'm closer to 100 than I am to when the day I was born. Isn't that sad?
I think the two that you're going to introduce, I think that they may be a little bit older than you, Dan.
FK's not. It's not even. Don't give it away. They don't know FK's here yet. Anyway, right. Next up, the man who will cleanse you of all your football-based sins for the bargain price of a box of 24 Ferrero Rochers. It's the Right Reverend Raj Patel. How are you doing, Your Holiness?
I'm all right, actually. 2 years retired, sat in my hammock for 2 years, and then you kind of send me a text message saying Wenger's been brought back into the club, so I'm back on the pod, and then you were lying. So there you go. So I'm here, going to look forward to it, see how this evening goes before I commit to anything else in the future.
Well, all our wonderful listeners will be glad that they have got a little bit of Raj in their life. And what are you eating and what are you drinking? That's all anyone wants to know. Well,
since the lockdown started, I'm drinking wine again. But I've still got the Ferrero Rochers next to my side, so you should probably hear me choke on at least one of those at some point this evening. As soon as Geoff starts waffling, that's when I'll start choking. So we'll see.
Excellent.
But it's good to be with Geoff. And have you introduced the other guests yet? Or?
No one knows. No one knows he's here. And dear listener,
and the other guests as well. So
Raj and Geoff turned on their cameras, and us four had a lovely little chat, which is why we're 23 minutes late, because we're catching up. It's like old times. And finally, to complete my holy trinity of legendary Arsenal podcasters, it's the founder and CEO of the Arsenal latte firm, the man who Wenger rings when he needs a bedtime story. It's FK. How is life at the top, FK?
I wouldn't know. You have to ask someone at the top. But it is good to be back. It's so nice to hear everybody's voices and to see your beautiful faces. It's really good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Yeah. What are you laughing at?
Just you.
I think they're laughing at us.
Absolutely legendary.
They're having a little giggle at us. Right, I'm just going to go and do a little tweet, let everybody know of all the places we are live on. There we go. Right, this is going to be a quick no from everybody, but anybody want to talk about the Rapid Vienna game?
We were very poor, wasn't we?
We stumbled across the line, didn't we? We got stumbled across it, and the only difference between the two teams was that we had the extra quality on the bench. But then you could talk about Sunday in the same way, if you wanted to. But it was all right. It was 3 points. It's a different Reverend Raj these days. I'm a lot more relaxed about things and don't get wound up too much. So the way I see it was a win. It wasn't a great win, but we got Aubameyang off the bench, scored the winner. I thought Partey looked very good. Exuded a bit of presence and composure in central midfield. And looking at him and his predecessors, I think we've been a bit hasty with his predecessors about how, saying that they were brilliant and all that kind of stuff. But with him, he does look a class apart. So very excited about him. So that's what I can say about that game.
I think that Partey was the one-man show, wasn't he, on the night?
He looks good, doesn't he?
He does indeed. And but a performance was shocking, wasn't it? I just couldn't believe it. It was maybe the worst performance of the season so far. Worst performance I've seen for a long, long while. and we got out of jail. Lucky they flopped in the end, Vienna, because we would have. Oh, that would have been very, very embarrassing. I thought we were going to be Spursy for a little bit, to make mistakes like that. But lucky to get away with it. FK, what do you reckon?
Horrible game. I cannot stress enough how much I didn't enjoy that game. I'll be honest with you, when the team was announced, I thought we'd win it quite comfortably. And then I think the realisation of Kolasinac at left back and Bellerin at right back and Suarez at right back with Nketiah out wide and Lacazette up to, everything about it just switched me off. It was a really boring game. We got out of jail by making those changes, and I'm just glad to be done with it, to be honest. The win is a win. That's all important. I do think we paid the price, actually. I know we're talking about the Leicester game, but I think in the Leicester game, we looked a bit leggy for that last sort of 20-30, and I think Arteta should have mixed it up a bit more. But yeah, I'm just glad it's over because it was just a horrendous game.
Who else is in the group apart from Dundalk?
Rapid Vienna and Molde.
So that away game then last week was probably the hardest game of the group, wasn't it?
That is the only upside of the entire thing. That was by far our hardest game. Although Dundalk are no mugs, they are a decent team. They're the best team in Ireland. I was listening to Same Old Arsenal the other night with Craig, and I was talking to Owen, who lives quite close to Dundalk, and he was saying they're a decent team. I think the days of us turning up like the old day. What was it back in the day? We went and played someone in Vienna and smashed them 7-1. I think those days of us smashing teams are long gone.
Well, we can't lose to Dundalk, surely.
We can't be a full-strength team, surely. Got United on Sunday.
We lose to Dundalk, I want to put a podcast the day after.
Oh, we've had a donation here. J-Rob, not only is J-Rob a member of our YouTube channel, which he pays 99p a month, I think, and gets bugger all for it, he's given us €2. Holy crap, nice lineup. All right, chaps, it is a damn fine lineup. We've also, I didn't say hello to anybody. Oh, you'll have to forgive me. We have got Phil Macker, Luke Howard, Matt Roberts. Matt, I've got your question of our questions to do. We've got our very own Richard. We've got some numbers. We've got our troll killer, Thunder Road. Everyone behave or Thunder Road will be on you. We've got Archie, Julian Salmondo, who is now from South America because someone got his name and said it wasn't salmon, it's Salmondo. He's in our Discord. Our Discord is a very nice place to be. We have got Archie, K-Man, who is in our Twitch, probably on our Facebook and in our YouTube all at the same time. Triple whammy there from K-Man. Carnage 1618. I don't know what happened in 1618, but it's a wavy hand. That's always nice. Sai and Vesh, it says hello. Loki from somewhere in the PE, maybe 18s. I don't know. I always forget that. J-Rob and is there with Kaiser Soze, who has changed his name. I'm not going to tell you what his real name is, but he's changed it to that. He's also on Twitch and he's also from our Discord. So hello, everybody. Right, now that I've done that,
can I just change the subject very quickly?
You change it whatever you want.
What's happened to the pirate?
Oh yes, someone asked about the pirate because we all know that Chris the pirate, it's AFC Freddie. Well, it used to be AFC Freddie 8. Because he's obsessed with his Farmers League football, he 3 times he retweeted a video, and we all know what happens on, as our mate Giles knows, if you retweet football videos of live video stuff, you're going to get in trouble. So Giles has had 318 separate Twitter accounts because every time he does it and he gets banned. Chris did exactly the same thing, and they've taken him down for 3 DMCA copyright strikes. So he's tried to appeal it. That's 10,000 people. 10 years he's been on there. People, don't retweet football stuff and videos.
Just retweet porn.
Yeah, you can put as much porn as you want. It's disgusting. That is one thing I'd ban from Twitter. You can show women putting all kinds of things in all kinds of places that makes the mind boggle. We don't need any of that on Twitter. But you retweet a highlight of football, you're gone. You're done.
Was it a retweet, Dan, or did he create it?
That I don't know, because you retweeted something we're going to come to about the Leicester game later, and you've not had any trouble, have you?
No, I never get any trouble for stuff like that. I think it's where they create them.
Create their own clips. It could well be.
It's getting pathetic now. They're just being, it's all this $14.95 to watch a football game, and just trying to squeeze pennies out of people left, right, and centre, and stopping them from an innocent retweet and all that kind of stuff. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely disgusting.
It is a disgrace.
But we'll talk about that in a little while, shall we?
Yeah. Good.
I've got a little rant about that coming up.
Oh, good. Right now, where were we? I'm saying, make sure I've got 4 different browsers open here at the moment. We've got some people here. The
Close the
Believing
porn, haven't
Gooner, who is another person who's paid for our YouTube, says, "Evening, chaps. What does this title mean? Proud Gooner. Yes, I have named this podcast Let's Sack Arteta After 39 Games to ridicule all the morons who think it's a good idea to sack our manager after 39 games. Right, should we move on to the Leicester game, gentlemen?
If we have to.
Jeff,
Yes,
the Leicester game. What did you think?
I think we had a really, really good first half. Maybe some people won't agree with me, but I thought we was knocking it about, quite nicely.
11 shots, 3 on target.
11 shots, 3 on target. I just think we look really strong. Leicester come down with a 2 blocks of 1-5 and 1-4, made it very difficult, defended very, very deep. We've had this from years and years back in the Wenger days when we used to destroy teams. So everyone used to come to our gaff and defend like that. And quite honestly, I think they've cottoned on to the way that Mikel Arteta now wants us to play, to be a little bit tighter. It turned out to be the best player on the pitch at the time, David Luiz, knocking them deep balls in. But then once when he went off, then we were struggling again for creativity. But Leicester obviously knew how we were set up, how we was going to play, and they just sat deep and just they were swallowing up all those long balls in general. We had a couple of great chances. Let's talk about the goal. Our first goal. It was a goal, in my opinion. In the olden days, that wouldn't have been a goal, of course, because he would have been offside. But he wasn't infringing the goalkeeper. Ian Wright summed it up properly at half time and at full time. So if we'd have scored that 1-0, the game would have opened up. Leicester would have to have opened up and gone on the attack, and then that opens it up for us. But unfortunately, we got into the second half and Jamie Vardy come on. We'll no doubt discuss this later on, but overall, I was so disappointed that we conceded. But as soon as he come on, Vardy, I did have it. I said straight away. I just thought I thought they was going to nick a goal from somewhere. It was same old Arsenal from years ago. I thought the first half was very good. The second half was very Unai Emery. FK, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think I'd agree. I think the first half we actually played all right. We came out of the blocks. We were dominating play. We had a couple of chances, had the goal disallowed, obviously, like you've just said, Geoff. And I'm amazed and appalled that VAR didn't really call that, and they called it, blocking the keeper, infringing on play or whatever. But it was clear Xhaka was behind Schmeichel. Disappointed to have not taken the lead in that first half. I think when you've got your opponents on the ropes, you have to land that killer blow, especially in the Premier League, especially against a team who finished above us last season. So we didn't take those chances. I think in the second half, it was obviously clear that they were going to use Vardy. I think when we saw the Leicester City lineup before the game, it was quite difficult to guess who would play up front and what sort of structure they'd play. But when Vardy was warming up and we knew as soon as the clock was ticking down to 60, everyone could see that Vardy was going to come on, get half an hour, and he was going to run rife. And at the same time, as I just said at the start of the call, I think the fact that we didn't make too many changes in Vienna, that really caught up with us, because I think that intensity, that tempo had dropped in the second half. We weren't pressing as much. We were a bit sloppy on the ball, tired legs, lack of ability, just a void in creativity. You look at the heat maps, you look at the pass maps after that game, and all of our attacks are going most of our attacks are going down the left-hand side, some down the right-hand side, but there's nothing going through the centre. So, progressing the lines through the middle, disappointing. Vardy was always going to get that one chance, and he's a killer. He's a top striker, and our killer's playing, left wide forward. And actually, if you look at the heat map, he was more left wing back. So disappointing night all round. And I can't really add anything further to what you said, Geoff. I think it was just a game of two halves. We started well, but we faded. In second half, they had us on the ropes and they took their chance.
Geoff, was it the linesman who got it wrong, or VAR, or both? And if it was VAR, why are they getting it wrong?
I'm not sure. I think it was. Yeah, I think the VAR give it offside, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah, I think
they did.
Why are they getting it wrong when they've got so many angles and cameras and 4 people in the box and all that kind of stuff?
So
it's infuriating, Raj. It's infuriating because you're sat there watching the game and you're thinking, you've laughed at so many fans having their teams docked goals and whatnot because of VAR and whatnot, because of the technicalities. They analyse everything so by the line, by the book. But with this, it just seemed like it was like a 30-second review, really quickly, really obvious. Yeah, Xhaka was blocking the keeper. Fuck it, let's just disallow the goal. It's just bonkers to me, mate. So sorry, I know you asked Geoff the question, but I was watching it. I was livid. I was like, what? How can you disallow that? I mean, it changes the course of the game.
Like I said, in the old days, though, Raj, that'd have been offside, wouldn't it? That's why I was at the time. I said, no, that's offside. It's offside, that goal. But then thinking about it, and with today's rules, it was clearly a good goal. What do you reckon?
I thought it was a goal. I thought it was a goal, but then you kind of rely on technology like we do in cricket. And they've got it seriously wrong. It doesn't happen that much in cricket, with DRS and stuff like that. So to have people sat there with multiple camera angles and all the technology available to them, and to get it that badly wrong is ridiculous.
The consistency,
it's unfathomable. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, the consistency with this VAR is just the inconsistency, we should call it, because they're not very consistent, are they at all? By the letter of the law, I would have thought that was a goal. The same as these handballs. There's a few proper dodgy handballs where people's handballing it behind them and all that, and they've given it. It don't make any sense. But we did have a couple of really good chances, didn't we? Aubameyang, I think he should have scored that header when he had a chance. And the one I want to talk about is Lacazette, and maybe we'll talk about Lacazette later on, because I think he needs speaking about.
He's just wasteful, Geoff. That's what it is. And I find it. Sorry, go on.
No, just with that particular chance, though, it was a great ball in from Tierney. He couldn't do much more than cross it. It was a great ball in. Had enough pace on it that all he had to do was redirect it. And I honestly think he bottled it. I think he seen the lad's leg come up on the right hand side of him, and he most probably closed his eyes and he bottled it. He got to punch that straight into the goal. All right, just get your head on it, and it's a goal. You've got to redirect it. And where he was so close to the goal, he would have scored. And I was so disappointed. But we'll talk about Lacazette later on. Raj, go on, you carry on for a minute.
I've got nothing more to add, mate.
Well, we should add Julian.
Just a couple of things, actually, very quickly. Sorry, Danny. Right. I thought I know Vardy made the difference coming on in 65th minute or wherever it was, but Sengisunda, who came on for Leicester as well, was quality, and his delivery of that run he made for Vardy was fantastic. Yeah. And then looking at the beginning of the game, you see Fofana, who's centre back for Leicester. He's only 19 years old, but he was very impressive. I thought when I saw that, I thought, well, he'll have problems with Lacazette and Aubameyang and stuff, but he was very, very comfortable. So a little bit of credit to those two players for making huge difference to the game.
But we've got to take into consideration that, in my opinion, Leicester they should be in the Champions League at the moment, because they had a terrible run, didn't they? The back end of last season.
361 days, Geoff, in the top four last season.
And they are a good side. They just had a little bit of a meltdown, didn't they? So overall, we've been beat by Liverpool, Man City, and Leicester City. 3 teams that I think you've got to wipe your mouth and say that they are better than us at the moment.
And Rodgers has got a bit more nous than Mikel at the moment, So he had a plan, and he stuck to it.
Yeah. and maybe a more settled team as well. So, you know, but we are definitely playing with the handbrake on, aren't we? And until he unleashes it and lets it go a little bit, I think we're going to struggle against teams that come and do that 2 blocks of 5 and 4 at the back. Dan, go on, I'll cut in on you.
That's right. Before we go on, Julian Salmondo, then recently renamed, has joined our YouTube. He is now an official YouTube member. He is a mushroom. He's stuck 99p down your pants every month, Geoff. So we've got to be eternally grateful for that, haven't we?
Beautiful.
Good old Julian. Cheers, mate. Right, the other points that I wanted to bring up. Yeah, if you look at the goal, quite a few times we've seen screen grabs, and like you were saying, FK, Ian Wright described it perfectly. You've got for people who haven't seen it, I don't know who hasn't seen it, but you've got the goal kick, Schmeichel on his line. To his left, you've got Xhaka, and the ball comes in from the right-hand side. So Xhaka is about a metre away. Xhaka is social distancing himself from Schmeichel, quite rightly, and he's a metre away. And the ball comes in from the right, and the linesman gives offside. And I'm not sure if the referee didn't go and check VAR. So the linesman gives offside. VAR doesn't contradict it, and the referee doesn't go and check VAR. And like people have been putting in the chat, at no point did Schmeichel appeal against it. Schmeichel just knew that he'd conceded a goal. And there's stuff like that. I mean, like you were saying, FK, it's happening to everybody all the time. But yeah, Geoff, I want to talk a little bit about that video that you pulled a carpenter and you retweeted a video. Explain to people what that video was showing with Mustafi and Gabriel.
Well, when David Luiz got injured, as soon as he'd gone off, I just thought to myself, well, if I was Brendan Rodgers now, right, the first thing I would do would put Jamie Vardy on and tell him to go and just work on Mustafi's shoulder, because you know exactly how he plays that Mustafi, and him and Xhaka, they turn like milk. They're so slow, right? And I would have just said, just go up and stand on him, and he did. And if you watch it back, you'll see. And he was just standing. He was always on Mustafi's side because he knows that he hasn't got the pace, and he doesn't concentrate. And there's always a chance that he's going to give you a chance. And if you see that clip, you could see Gabriel, who's a lot younger than him, more or less covering, pointing with his right hand and saying, "Cover that space behind me, because there's going to be a great big hole as I get pulled over to the left-hand side." And lo and behold, when the ball was put through, Xhaka didn't track his man. He let him go, and it was too slow. Another one that his concentration's rubbish, right? And the ball got crossed, and Mustafi was like 15, 20 metres away from Vardy, and that's all. He was just waiting for that to happen, and he did it again about another 3 or 4 minutes later on. He was just on his shoulder, and he got put through again. You might remember the late one when it hit Leno on the head. It was a right late one when he's gone through again, and that's why with the players that we've got, those type of players that come in, they're just not good enough, and it cost us the game because it was a simple mistake, an individual error from him where he can see the ball's going to get passed through, and he's trying to play a high line. You can't press when there's no pressure on the ball, right? You've got to drop, but you can't press. And, he's pressing, and Gabriel's going back, and we've got very, very lopsided, and there's a great big hole in behind him. He does it all the time. He does it every single game, but he gets away with it a lot, Mustafi. You can't play with players like that. He looked like he was half asleep when he came on. But if you go and look at the clip, you'll see exactly what I mean. It was shocking.
Gents, I've done a tweet, and I've included you all in the tweet, so if you can give it a little retweet, give it a little tickle, that'd be cheers, FK. Why have you got your hand up, FK? Thoughts on a World Cup winner being told what to do by a 22-year-old, and then turns out the 22-year-old was right. I mean, we know Mustafi hasn't done much training, and he thought, bloody hell, that's a bit of a run I've got to go on there. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it in time, because even if he would have run, I'm not sure that he would have got there before Vardy. But to completely ignore your fellow centre-back, that's criminal, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I mean, we know Mustafi's got this in his locker. Lapses in concentration, just generally not being a very good defender. He's capable. He has his moments of sort of good games. He has his performances, but every now and again, it always chucks something into the mixer where you just think, Christ, he's gone a few steps back, and maybe we just need to get rid as soon as possible. In terms of what was happening, I mean, you look at the shape of the team. We were on the front foot. We were trying to create something. We were desperately trying to attack. You know, like Geoff said, we had a sort of high line. Xhaka was up the pitch. Partey was up the pitch. Mustafi was a little staggered. He was just ahead of Gabriel, and you can see. I mean, Geoff's point about that clip at the replay. Every time you watch it, it just gets worse because you can see Gabriel's got his arm out and he's telling him get back, because he can read that the ball's going to be sort of dinked over the top, and Mustafi's sort of leisurely jogging back. What more can you say? I mean, look, it was a good pass to get Unai in. He broke through into the box. Lovely pass to Vardy, and obviously he's finished it. But Mustafi's never catching up with Jamie Vardy. Even from a level start. So, what can you say? Really, really disappointing. Yes, he's a World Cup winner. He should know better. He's more experienced. But then I read yesterday or today, I get my days mixed up because every day feels the same now, working from home. But Mustafi's been offered a new contract by Arsenal. So, somewhere along the line, the managers that we've had from Wenger to Emery to Arteta, they all kind of rate him. They see value in him. It's something that I just don't see. I'm not sure his performances or his talent warrant a new contract, and presumably it'd be after a long-term one, and one that would include a lucrative salary plus signing on fee. And I just think the money's probably better spent elsewhere. So there are my thoughts on Mustafi. He's someone that I just don't think has a role to play in the team in future. I think whilst he's capable, he always has lapses in concentrations and mistakes in him. And Gabriel was absolutely bang on to be barking orders at him. And the fact that he didn't follow through, he's got some explaining to do.
Raji Poo, FK was saying that he's been offered a new contract. Kaiser Soze has put in our Twitch chat saying that he's turned the contract down. I read today that he's turned the contract down. He said he wants to move back to Germany with his family. Is there any coincidence that on the Sunday he makes a clanger? On the Monday, he's offered a new contract. On the Tuesday, he says he's going back to Germany. Is that just a string of coincidences?
This is Arsenal. There's no coincidence whatsoever, are there? It's just it happens like that. The amazing thing is, we're just listening to FK and Geoff for the last 5 minutes. It feels like I haven't been away for 2 years. We're talking about the same old stuff from 2 years ago. It could have just been. You just changed the names of the players, and we're having a right old moan. I mean, I don't rate Mustafi. I think they're giving him a contract because it's probably cheaper to give him a contract than buy a new defender, to be quite honest. I don't think there's much money in the pot.
Do we need a new defender? I mean, is it just about numbers? Do we not feel that we're too centre-back heavy, i.e., you'd hope that Holding and Saliba would hold down that right centre-back position. You'd hope that Gabriel and Pablo Mari, who I think a lot of people forget about, would hold down the left centre-back position with Tierney as well. And then you've got Luiz, you've got...
Why do you think they've offered him a new contract? Why do you think?
To be honest, I was flabbergasted. But when I sort of tweeted about it, a lot of people were sort of saying, well, maybe it's just to secure some sort of transfer value. But my thinking on that is, here's a player who we have actively tried to offer out to clubs for the last, I would say, 2 summers. No one's taken a look. What makes anyone think that if we sign him down to a new contract, there would be some sort of monetary value on him? Because the cost of getting him to agree a contract, you've got a signing on fee, you've got a wage, which obviously he's going to look for some sort of closeness to what his current wage is, if not more. At his age, he's probably looking for a slightly longer term deal than maybe a 2 or 3 year sort of extension. So that just doesn't sit with me that we're trying to sell him on, because if you can't sell him now as he's edging towards the end of a contract, how the fuck are you going to sell him when he's got 3 or 4 years? And it's just going to be a case of hanging on to him. He just soaks up money in the squad. He soaks up a spot, an overseas or whatever you call it, foreign registered player spot. I just think now is the time. Let him run out his contract, bank that signing on money, bank those wages that we can finally, sort of clear off the wage budget, and just put the money elsewhere. I just don't see the need to keep Mustafi.
So he's doing us a favour by rejecting the contract then?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think, as I said yesterday, I don't know who's the more crazier party. Arsenal for offering him a deal when virtually he just offers the club not much, or Mustafi rejecting a new contract at Arsenal. I mean, the mind boggles.
What do you think, Geoff?
I just think the reason why he's turned it down because we only offered him 50 packets of cheddars every week, mate. That's why. I can't imagine it would have been anywhere near the money. The money, yeah, of course, but I can't imagine that it'd have been offered anything like the money he's on at the moment, which is the reason why he's still at Arsenal Football Club and he hasn't gone to some other club because he's.
Would you keep him?
No, not at all. No.
And would you keep him, Raj?
No, I haven't rated him in ages.
And Danny, would you?
No, it was. I was telling someone the other day. I said, "Do you remember when Gary Neville was manager of Valencia?" Gary said recently that he didn't want Mustafi at the club. We tried getting rid of him, and nobody wanted him. Then Arsenal came in and offered 35 million for him. They couldn't believe that anybody would pay 35 million pound for a bloke who's not a really good defender. Before we carry on, a little bit of housework. We have got K-Man 1867 has again used his Amazon Prime substitution. That's not the right word. It's Amazon Prime subscription because you get one. You can use it every month, one person. If you don't use it, it goes in the bin. What you would do, what K-Man has just done is taken $2.50 out of Jeff Bezos' pocket and stuffed it down FK's pants. So that's very kind of him. Cheers, K-Man. And we've had a new subscriber on the Twitch, J. Harrison Baker. I know a Harrison who uses Twitch, but his first name is Harrison, so that's not you. But anyway, thank you very much, you two. He's not a good defender, is he? I mean, sometimes he has a good game, and sometimes it's like that saying: sometimes maybe shit, sometimes maybe good. He's much like a Xhaka, isn't he? He's sometimes whenever they go out there, there's a ricket in them. Is what I'm trying to say badly. So. What else are we going to talk about? Shall I go and have a look at my little list?
Let's talk about this $14.95 rip-off fucking Sky thing. Yeah. It's absolutely disgusting. And what's warmed my heart in the last 48 hours is that so many Arsenal fans, and that's thanks to the AST and obviously all the Arsenal fans who've donated their $14.95s to your local Islington food bank and raised 20,000 quid. Brilliant. Which is brilliant, not just because it's helping out kids and stuff like that, which is fantastic, but it's going to piss Sky off so much. And to take 20 grand away from Sky is brilliant. But it's just getting worse and worse. You know, we can't go and see a game, and we're not going to be able to see a game at the stadium until next season probably. The way it's looking with the events industry and stuff like that. So I think we're months away from Tier 5. That's when I talk about Tier 5, I talk about Tier 5 for events. And for Sky to come out and say, well, you know, we'll let you watch some games on your subscription, but then other games you have to pay $14.95 is absolutely outrageous. And it's great that it's not just Arsenal fans, but fans up in Manchester and Liverpool doing the same thing as well. And I think the more fans that do that around the country, and that's a really good message to send to Sky, BT Sport, ESPN, and all the others who want to try and charge fans money on top of their subscriptions.
Do we know how much, what percentage Arsenal get of that $14.95?
I don't care. Do you care?
No, but it would be interesting to find out because they should give it all back. Good point. I wouldn't thought they get maybe a couple of quid out of it or something, but it's I hope Arsenal give it back, but that's at the moment that's not really a growing issue. The issue is that these TV stations can charge fans to pay for football, even though they're paying 70-80 quid a month already. And Sky have lost so many sports the last 5 years anyway. They've lost the Champions League to BT Sport and the Ashes and golf and all that kind of stuff, and we're still paying the same kind of money. I suggest 4 letters, IPTV.
Yep, exactly. 60 quid a year, absolute bargain.
Yep, there you go.
So I take it none of you lot have paid the 15 quid and none of you will be paying the 15 quid because I don't know anybody who has paid it. It's an absolute rip-off.
I've seen a few people on Twitter have paid it.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I'm not having a go at the fans who did pay it. It's up to them. It's their right
Yeah, they want to see
$14.95. I'm just lauding the fans who decided to give their $14.95 to the Islington charity, and God bless them all. But I'm certainly not going to go at the fans who wanted to pay $14.95. That's their right. But exactly. I think they're being ripped off by Sky, and they're being taken. They're so desperate to see their club play, which is fair enough. And Sky just preying on that because they can't. And on top of this situation where we're in, where COVID rules the world and we can't go and actually see the players, they're making it worse by charging $14.95, and there are fans out there who will pay that.
Do you think that everyone would have felt better if it was only $4.95 and you got a couple of games thrown in as well with it over the weekend?
Yeah, probably if it'd been a $5, then I could see myself probably paying a $5 for it. But
exactly, yeah, me too.
$14.95. I mean, fair enough. I do pay for the boxing, but then it's in America and they're massive, Gypsy King and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
this is just taking the piss because you're actually paying a subscription for Sky Sports.
Exactly.
And then you have to pay on top of that, And if they pick the right, if they're clever, they'll have loads of Arsenal games on Sky Box Office. So I hope that the fans who donated $14.95 carry on doing that for as long as possible.
That'd be good. Anyone else want to bring up any more points about that stuff before we move on?
Dan, I'm livid about it, man. I mean, I don't want to repeat too much of what Raj and Geoff have said, but I'm so angry about it because I think it just shows how desperately the Premier League and the FA and the clubs are out of touch with just reality. Global pandemic. People are struggling. People are going through some very tough times, both mentally, from a financial perspective, from a family perspective, jobs, life, everything is all different. And football is one of very, very few interests and hobbies that really unite communities and people and generations. And it's such a big hobby for British people and for so many people across the world, right? That how can you even think about charging people a ludicrous amount of money at a time like this? It's total extortionism. It is a monopoly situation which they are completely taking advantage of because they know that people's heartstrings will always eventually make people, reluctantly purchase these games. It is encouraging people defying lockdowns and meeting locally and, sharing a sort of PPV experience by just going to someone's house and breaking the law, because you can just imagine that that's happening, right? It's so out of touch. And what's even more disappointing is that they've all met today or yesterday and they've retained it at the same price. I mean, mate, I'm like, I would encourage all of my friends and all of our followers, all of our people that we know to continue to boycott the pay-per-view offering, to continue, as Raj has said, all the fantastic work by contributing to local food banks and charities. Stream the shit out of Premier League games, listen to the radio more, and resist that temptation if you can. And power to the fans, because it is absolutely disgraceful, in my opinion, that we are being asked to pay so much money for the additional games. I mean, there's very few things that I feel really strongly about when it comes to football, things that really move me, and this has really just gotten me, sort of off my seat, as it were. I'm really angry about it, and I think power to all the supporters groups and power to all of the fans who continue to boycott it, because without that, there was a game, Raj, I think, where they had fewer than 1,000 viewers, and I mean, what the fuck? Sorry, it's just. What are they? I'm so angry about it. I can't understand it. And it's just greed, and it's stupidity, and it's just so short term sort of thinking. And the last thing on this, I promise, when you've got such a situation, and Raj, we were talking about it before we sort of went on air, if you like, just how difficult it is, current living situations, current work situations. I don't know about you guys, and people might laugh about this, but I use football as like a focal point in the week to help time come and go. What I mean by that is, like, for example, if there's a fixture coming up in a couple of days, I just use that couple of days like to really get energized about the game, really, have something as a focal point to look forward to. I watch the game and it gives me a couple of days off to talk about. Like, football's such an integral part of my life, as I imagine it is as a big part of your lives. And I just think you're taking that away from people who don't want to be in this situation. We'd all much rather be at stadiums. We'd all much rather be in pubs. We'd all much rather be at our mates' houses, watching games together. But I just think it's such an opportunistic and horrible thing to do. Like, I'm so pissed off about it.
You know what rubs salt in the wounds as well, guys, is that, if you lived outside the UK, you'll pay your normal straight money to your service provider or whoever it is, like Sky or someone else that they got when they're abroad. You could be in Holland, France, anywhere, Germany, everywhere. And you can watch the game and it's for free. You're not paying any extra.
And do you know the reason? Do you know the reason? Just sorry to chip in there, but this is something that's really important to me as well. Like, I'm very aware of overseas sort of television coverage and how you can watch all 380 Premier League games for $5 a month or whatever it is. And the reason for that, the reason why they didn't want to show too much, is because they were afraid that people wouldn't go to stadiums.
Yep.
But we can't go to stadiums even if we wanted to, and that's what is bonkers about it. So even if it was just a short-term thing. Next 3 months, take it a month at a time. Next month, next 3 months, next 6 months, whatever it is, however long the lockdown is going to be on, we will continue to televise these games for free because people need it. People need that escape from this shit that we're living in, like the lockdown, the mental stress, the loneliness, sorry.
Well, that's what I was worried about. I was worried about years ago when obviously they started streaming the live games. That it would end up like the Italian Serie A league, where there was only the big teams when there's the local derbies, when there's a full stadium or anywhere near a full stadium. All the rest of the matches, there was hardly anyone there, 10 and 15,000 and stuff like that. But that was the excuse then. But like you said, there's actually no excuse now for that because we can't go to the game anyway. So that excuse is wiped out. But not only is that excuse wiped out, they charge you $14.95 to watch it if you want to watch it. It's crazy and very,
it's outright sickening. It's sickening, Geoff. It's outrageous. I mean, there's so many words to describe it, but it is absolutely disgraceful. That is the bottom line. And people should continue to boycott. Power to these IPTV providers. Stream the shit out of your games every weekend, every weeknight. Listen to the radio. The radio have some amazing coverage. There's some great stations out there, and watch all the live sort of watch-alongs and vlogcasts that people like Arseblog and stuff do during games. Like, support those guys at this current time. It's just fucking shit, really.
When you look at something, Danny, were you going to say something there, Raj?
Yeah, I'll just say wait till the European Super League gets formed and everyone's piss for ball then.
Don't. But you look at
what's will be the Premier League. We'll probably win the Premier League then.
True, but you look at the bigger picture. The FA own the England team, and they made us play, or not us. They made the England national team go and play a meaningless friendly against Wales, and then 2 more. I mean, what? It's not. I thought it was the European Championships they've been playing in. It's not. It's like the Eurovision Song Contest for European football. Just another meaningless tournament. The first thing the FA should have done is we're pulling out of this. We're not going to risk our players going and playing 3 meaningless games in European competition. And then some people have made some really good points here. La Yanis has said £4 for all games for the year for all major European leagues in India, and Sai Anvesh has said, that typical big corporation tactics. They put $14.95 first, and after a huge outrage, they reduced to $4.95 when their ultimate aim was $4.95 in the first place. That's the kind of thing we're dealing with. And like you a lot were saying, at first, when at the end of last season, they were saying these extra games, they're going to be free. We're going to be doing that. But the Premier League are greedy. The FA greedy. We've got to have our... Doesn't matter that people are starving. People haven't got jobs. People are topping themselves left, right and centre because they can't deal with it. Young footballers. I mean, that young 19-year-old... he took his own life because he'd been released from Man United. These are the important things that people need to concentrate on. What the Premier League doing? Grab money. We want money. We've got to try and get money out of it. hopefully this will be the end of Premier League football and all that stuff going on, and then we'll reassess how football works. Because, and then like you were saying, Raj, if this goes into the European, I mean, someone put in the chat, Barcelona have already agreed to go and join this European Super League, whatever it is called. That's another step towards having killing football. And all these, they should be. What I'd like to see is each Premier League club go and take under their wing one League One team, one League Two team, and one conference team, and say, look, we're going to help support you with your players, and we're going to help make sure these clubs don't go under. And if I owned Arsenal, I'd say Barnet, Peterborough, and I don't know, a team from the conference. We're going to make sure that you don't go under. We're going to help pay your things. We're going to do games together. We're going to do all these kind of things, because otherwise, football as we know it is going to die, and you're going to have 20 teams in the league that are making money, and everyone else is going to have to go semi-professional or amateur, aren't they?
Football's dying already. I mean, the Premier League, forget the Premier League, they'll survive for decades and decades. But even because of this pandemic, grassroots football's dying because not enough money's going down to the bottom. And the League One and League Two are going to struggle because there's no money getting to them. So don't be surprised when clubs start to fold. But certainly down in grassroots, and I'm talking on for a lot of sports actually, not just football. But this pandemic is going to change the face of sport forevermore. I'm telling you now. And then the Premier League will be left unscathed because they've got so many billions of pounds coming in. And then they're taking this piss by adding another $14.95 to it. And where's this $14.95? Even if so a couple of our friends on chat have said that it's actually the Premier League's fault, not Sky. So fair enough, but the sentiment remains. So I mean, if the Premier League are getting a lot of this money, then what are they doing with it? Why aren't they pushing it down?
Matt Roberts has pointed out Barnet are in the conference. I forgot they got relegated 2 seasons ago. Yeah. Kaiser Sose, who is in Sweden, says he hasn't paid a single pound extra on his subscription in Sweden. It's going to be the usual thing, isn't it? Premier League fans, we get charged them. Someone put a tweet out recently saying how much they pay for BT, for Sky, for their season ticket and all the other stuff. It's costing them best part of £3,000 a year, and they don't even go to all the games. That's ridiculous. FK has said, his internet's playing up. Oh, no, I think he's back again. Here he is. Is everything okay, FK?
Just fine, mate. Sorry, the ad for me wasn't working, so I had to refresh, and now I'm back in.
I've missed your rants, FK, I've got to say. You don't have many rants, but when you do, they're quality.
They're from the heart.
This is rant worthy, isn't it? I mean, honestly, I don't want. Okay, we shouldn't go on about it all night, but
no, Raj, sorry, man, you set me off again, but it boils my blood because I'm not going to claim to be a more passionate or a bigger fan than anybody, right? We're all the same, but we crave football in this country, and my life is very different to all of you guys, and I use football, like I said, as a focal point in the week. It helps me get through the challenges that I have with my job, with my kids, with everything in life, and it's such an important pastime to me as it is to all of you guys watching, who will watch, all of you guys on on this chat. I just find it sickening, man, sickening that the Premier League can use this opportunity to say, do you know what? Even though we've only had 1,000 people watch one game, that's still a few £100,000. Let's just go for it. Yeah.
Raj,
Anyway.
Tony G says, Raj, you are the OGG. So good to hear you. And hi, FK.
What's OGG?
OG, I don't know. OGG.
Original gargantuan gangster.
Here's a point that we should maybe talk about. People are asking the title of the show. None of us want Arteta out after 39 games, just to make that clear. Carter Stage says, why should people not want the manager out? Do you think Chelsea will keep Lampard if he does not perform? The sales a manager after the Europa League. Geoff, what do you think to people who really do want Arteta out after 38, 39 games, depending on whether you include the Charity Shield as a game?
I just think they're a little bit crazy, mate. You've got to give him a chance, You've got to let him. You can see what he's doing. I spoke last week on it about what the kind of process it is. He came in and he's definitely improved us. I will argue with anybody or debate with anybody that he has definitely improved us. We've been craving for years. We wanted to have a better defence, and we've got better defensively. Right? We made a ricket the other night, but that was an individual error. But we've definitely made a progress defensively, and I do think he'll move through slowly but surely, letting the handbrake off a notch at a time. But at the moment, we've been beat 3 times: Liverpool, Manchester City, and Leicester City. But I've told you about that earlier on. But I do worry, especially with our fan base. You know how crazy they are, and on Twitter and all that. Are we heading for a proper meltdown? Because you've got all the stuff with Ozil, you've got debates about Pepe, you've got debates about William Saliba. We paid a lot of money for him, and he's nowhere near the first team at the moment. I don't know what's happened to Ainsley Maitland-Niles. We've paid good money to keep him, or persuade him to stay. And what's happened to him? I don't know. He's not been included in. Where is he? Aubameyang at the moment, since he signed, so it always happens all the time. He signs a contract, and unfortunately, he hasn't really performed, does it? And lastly, Lacazette. I think we would have had a chance to sell him in the summer. And I'm looking at it now. Right now, I like him. I think he's a quality player. But the way Arteta wants to set us up and the way he wants us to play, the number 9 and the top 3, they've got to be full of pace. And I'm afraid Lacazette, he's never had that great pace. So you've got 5 or 6 things there that we may be able to talk about. I could, a couple of defeats, we're going to a proper meltdown, and you've got them 1, 2, 3, 6 people there that. Have we got issues with those 6 people, and how are we going to set up? I mean, you've got Aubameyang. Is he now ready to be a number 9? Have we got to do that? Because Lacazette at the moment clearly isn't fitting the bill. All right, he's come back and he looks a little bit thinner. He looks a little bit fitter, but apart from holding the ball up, I know he's scored a couple of goals and that, but his overall play, I think we need better as a number 9. Oli Giroud, right? We let him go and brought Lacazette in to replace him more or less. And I don't know who's the better player over the time that we had them both. So there's a lot of things to talk about there if you want to talk about it.
Is Arteta still learning the job? Do you reckon?
He is. Of course, he's learning the job. Yeah, that's
my theory is. My theory is that. When he was with Pepe at Man City, he had a gentle learning curve. He was there. He had plenty of time to learn off Pep. And then he got this Arsenal job maybe 2 years too early. I think if he'd stayed there for 2 more years, he'd have been a more complete manager when he came to us. So he can't turn down the Arsenal job. So he's taking it on. And his learning curve, rather than being a gentle curve up, is now virtually vertical. So he's got to really learn a lot more whilst managing, a big club and all these players and stuff like that. So, I mean, you're right. We can't just start writing managers off after 38 games. No. It reminds me when we used to have the big Wenger rows 3, 4, 5 years ago. And the one thing that stuck with me that you said at that time, towards the end when you were starting to cave a little bit, not completely, but you were just starting to cave a little bit, and you said, when Wenger goes, we're going to be a club that gets rid of their manager every 18 months.
Yep.
And we're on our 2nd manager in 2 years. So part of what you predicted is coming true. So I'd like to stop that now.
Yeah.
And so say, give Arteta more time. He's learning. He's making a lot of mistakes, and he should be criticised for it. But I don't think there should be a meltdown. I just don't think. I think everyone just needs to hold their breath and give him at least another year or so, even a bit longer. We don't want your prophecy to come true. That's what I was trying to say.
No, I do think he'll get a free pass until the end of the season. I said that when he signed. He will get a free pass at the end of this season.
I don't think he's going to achieve too much this season. This season's going to be crazy.
Yeah, no,
teams are taking points of other teams that wouldn't normally take points. And because a lot of players are playing with abandon in a lot of other teams, because there's no crowds, there's no 60,000 people taking the piss out of them and booing them off the pitch at half time. They've got no pressure of the crowds. So you're going to see all these crazy results throughout the season. So I don't think. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll put on a huge run of games now and be successful. But I think he needs longer than until the end of the season. And
The
that's the new Raj speaking now as well.
The only thing that worries me about his time under Pep, you can see there's a blueprint there that he's like a little bit, he's copying it a little bit. The only thing that worries me is he hasn't got the same personnel. At Manchester City, he had better players then than we have now. And then they've purchased more, spent another 500 million or something on defenders, over the course of the last 2 years or whatever. So that's where a problem lies. But I think you've got to give him time. You definitely got to give him time. FK, I see you when I was talking about Lacazette. I see you nodding your head. Now, are you a fan or what?
Of Lacazette. I was hoping you'd bring me in to talk about Arteta, but I'm sure I'll get around to it at some point.
I've got a question for you after Lacazette, FK. So you answer Lacazette and then I'll give you a good question.
All right, mate. Lacazette for me, I think when we signed him, I was excited because obviously we had Aubameyang. I thought maybe this guy would come in and be awesome, frankly, because he had such rave reviews from France. He could play number 9, number 10. I think the pace of the Premier League is too fast for him. I don't think he looks as fit as he should be. He can't hold up the ball. He's a decent finisher. Sometimes scores goals that you don't expect him to score. But is he good enough? I mean, I think there was a spell, Geoff, where he went through a 12-month period. And I think he scored 1 or 2 goals away from home for the entire year's period. That's not good enough. He doesn't do enough in a game for me. And I said this before the Leicester game. I wanted Aubameyang centrally, Pepe out wide. And people were like, what more do you want Lacazette to do? He scored 3 goals in 3 games. And yes, he has scored 3 goals in 3 games, but he's lacking in so many things. Actually, up to the point now, Geoff, where I think he's a genuine bottleneck. I think he stops anything good that we do going forward, which, as you know, is limited these days because we're just going through a bit of a transition. So for me, no, I don't want to see him be a regular. I think he needs to get fitter. I think he needs maybe a spell out where Aubameyang is the lethal sort of killer through the middle. If we could sell him, if someone came in for him in any transfer window and offered us even as little as 25, 30 million, I'm taking that. So that's my thought.
The question I was going to ask you, FK, is Carter has been putting lots of stuff in there, and Carter's allowed to have his own opinion on it. I think the point he is making is, like the point he added on, he said Chelsea sacked their manager after winning the Europa League. They also got rid of their manager after winning the league. Why can Chelsea do stuff like that? And we seem to be holding on to a manager that we held on to Emery for too long. Arteta seems to be doing the same old mistake. Some people have said that Arteta is doing the stuff that Wenger used to do, the late substitutions, the dodgy substitutions, sticking with players when they shouldn't be stuck with. So what's your thoughts on Arteta and his tactics and his influences maybe from Wenger and Guardiola and stuff like that? There you go. That's an hour podcast on its own. Good luck.
No, I'll try and be quick. But
we've got half hour.
First of all, Chelsea are a different beast to Arsenal in many ways. So when Roman Abramovich took over the club, he implemented a culture of being a sort of cutthroat environment, being in a very sort of ambitious, aggressive culture to try and catch up on the bigger clubs. And that's just been his mantra since day dot. And I think he falls out with a lot of managers, which is why he gets rid of them. I think he backs them with huge finances, and there is a cost to sacking a manager and his management team, which some clubs can just brush under the carpet. Obviously, we couldn't. The other thing is that we've had a manager who was in post for 20 plus years, as we've all exhausted ourselves talking about when we last did our podcast 2-3 years ago. I think we needed a fall guy, and I think we needed Unai Emery to come in, a bit like the David Moyes effect at Old Trafford, just to basically come in, make a total hash of it, and for us to get him out quite quick. With Arteta, I think had he not have had the links to the club as an ex-player, we probably would be looking at a year, 2 years maybe. But I think given that he is ex-captain, ex-player, very highly thought of in the game, and we have, he's the right age profile. We want him for the next, ideally, 5, 10, 15 years of his career. Excuse me. I think that is slightly different. So in terms of Arteta, my thoughts are that he is obviously a very intelligent guy. He does come from the Arsene Wenger school of thought. There's lots of similarities. between the way that he sort of handles himself, the way he talks, the approach to the sort of beautiful game. But I would say that he's very much in a slow transition process. I think last year, you look at some of our games towards the end of Emery's era, we were conceding 20 shots a game. 20 shots. That's unthinkable. So the first thing there, Arteta's got to basically think about, right, well, we need to sort out our structure. So he came in last season and immediately we had a game plan, we had an approach. Distances between players was better. Structurally, we were a more tight team. He had the same personnel, bear that in mind. We were much more clinical going forward. Our shape was better, and we scored some amazing goals. And of course, we won the cup, which I think has also heightened expectations. With regards to this summer, he went out, made some really good acquisitions. Gabriel looks an absolute monster of a centre back, and I think you can see exactly what he was trying to do there. I think Saliba, had his mother not passed away, would probably have featured a bit more. I do wonder about how the boys sort of feeling, living in a country, away from home, moving, big club, mum passed away. There's lots of things going on in the young man's mind. And it's difficult to introduce yourself as a teenage defender in the Premier League, I think. So defensively, I think Arteta's done exactly the right thing. I was gutted to lose Martinez, by the way. We'll talk about that another day. And I think now that the next piece of the jigsaw is the midfield. So he's gone out and bought Thomas Partey. Everybody knows that we wanted to get a creative player, which is what we so desperately lack. Houssem Aouar was the name that everybody saw us be linked with, and maybe we walked away because the brother and the agent was requesting too much money right at the death. But we desperately need that sort of number 10. You look at I talked about it before. You look at the heat map of the Leicester game, for example. All of our attacks going down the flanks, no progressive passes through the middle. There are various screenshots where you've got the sort of middle three in a straight line, then you've got the forward three in a straight line, and there's no one connecting the lines or breaking the lines. So we are desperately seeking that, and I think that will be a massive thing for us if we can address that in January. Is Arteta the right man to take us forward? Time will tell, obviously. Do I want him to do well? Of course. And, I think the same rule needs to apply to him as it did to Wenger and to Emery, which is that we need to only review and reflect at the end of the season, and we can only judge then. And if he wins a trophy, he gets a free pass for me for the following year, like he did this summer. And if he doesn't win a trophy, well, then, you talk about questions. And my final point on Arteta, he's been bold and he's been brave, and his job now is to maximise the talent that he's got in his squad. He's made his bed by alienating Guendouzi, by obviously, everyone knows about what's happening with Ozil. If we get to a situation in the season where our goal difference is poor, where we're scraping for 7th, 8th place in the league, you can all the fingers are going to point towards those decisions. Alternatively, if we get to the end of the season, and we're challenging for top 4, and we're creating chance after chance in games, and maybe we pick up a trophy, no one will give a shit about Guendouzi or Ozil. So, we've made our bed. We need to lie in it. But certainly for me, he is absolutely the right man.
Agreed.
Thank you very much for that. If people are wondering why I'm laughing, Raj was heavy breathing, and he said it was FK's voice. It's like we were in our private chat. He says he's buttery smooth.
Raj, you say all the right things.
Kaiser says, well said. I think that sums up that. FK, well said. Very well done.
Thank you.
Right, any more points before we move on to listeners' question? Oh, we've got half an hour.
I'll tell you what, Leno got a pass from the Vienna game, didn't he? None of us mentioned it. I had a load of things to say, but I honestly cannot be bothered with that.
Was that the to me to you with Luiz? Is that a bit?
God almighty, awful.
Well, he nearly did it again at Leicester, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Maddison was very unlucky.
He only reminded me when FK talks about Martinelli. I mean,
I do, Martinez. I do regret selling Emmy now, and I did at the time. I said it was a mistake, but anyway, what's gone's gone, isn't it? We'll have to carry on.
I think Geoff, the situation was that I think the club, you know this much better than I do, but the club desperately wanted Partey and Aouar, and we were in a situation where we just had to think about selling someone we desperately didn't want to sell. And I think if you were to catch Arteta off the record over dinner somewhere, and he sort of asked him, what the fuck was the situation with Martinez? I think you'd probably open up and tell you, look, we just didn't want to sell him. He had a chance to go somewhere else and be number one, but we needed the money and we cashed in. And I think we were this close to selling Maitland-Niles. And maybe that's why we bought Suarez as well, because back in the day, maybe Bellerin was valued as a highly sellable asset. And, God forbid, the idea of Suarez at right back as a regular for the next 4 years terrifies me. But, we were in that situation. You look at the squad and there's only 3 or 4 players that we could make decent money of. And if that was for the good of the team, which party will be for the good of the team, again, hopefully if we end the season positively, then no one will remember Martinez. But Leno's got to sort his game out. He needs to stay fit. He doesn't look like Arteta doesn't look like he backs Renarsson, because he would have probably picked him for that Vienna game. Macy, whilst I like the idea of a young prospect coming through, a lot of people don't rate Macy at all. So again, we've made our bed, so there's nothing he can do. We just have to back Leno, and he's having a questionable time at the minute.
You know what's frightening? The last few games, this is what I'm saying about Ainsley Maitland-Niles. He's Cedric has been in the squads, and Maitland as a cover right back, or the European game he played, didn't he? And Ainsley Maitland-Niles. So I don't know what's going on there. It'd be very, very interesting to find out what's going on.
There's some talk in the Carter has said that he'd like to. Oh, the chat has moved. Carter said he agrees that Balogun over Eddie. I think Eddie has not really taken the chances and be given him, and Balogun is on the verge of leaving if he doesn't get first team games. So Balogun needs to get some Europa League games rather than Eddie, because as much as I love Eddie, and he's broken the record for the under-21s, I don't think. At the moment, I don't think he's good enough to be the backup to if Aubameyang and Lacazette isn't working. We do need to try something a little bit different. As we've got Raj and FK on, and they've not been on in a while, Raj, do you want to dip your toe into the Ozil pool and give us your opinion?
Fuck him off. You can go, as far as I'm concerned. What's the point? I mean, we don't want to cancel his contract. We've got to pay him 12 million quid. Well, we're going to pay him 12 million quid while he's still stuck here. So get rid of him. It's the weirdest thing ever, watching that game last Thursday and checking your Twitter account and seeing him tweet away when he should have been playing in the middle of the pitch, because, people think he's quality and stuff, but obviously Arteta doesn't, and nor do I, to be quite honest. I think he's a distraction now at Arsenal, and we've got to find a way of getting rid of him, and don't be scared of cancelling his contract and losing a bit of money, because even if you lose that money, it might be better for morale for the squad to kind of get rid of these kind of players. I don't think him hanging around is going to help whatsoever. So, Geoff, what do you think?
It's just so difficult, isn't it? I read a great article yesterday about the whole situation, and it's a bit grim. It is really, really grim about that particular subject. And I don't think there's no easy way out of it for Arsenal Football Club. No matter what happens and how they react, it's going to look bad for them. But I don't, me personally, I just think he doesn't realise he's only got a couple of years left in the game at elite level, so to speak, if he's lucky. And he's just not playing football. He could have gone away, still collected the same money, and played somewhere else. He's obviously doing it because he feels strongly about what he believes in, which is fine. That's all well and good. But if it affects the footballers at the club, which it is definitely affecting, is a distraction. I don't care what you say. It's definitely a distraction, because he split the fan base over the whole situation, and he's most probably split the dressing room over the whole situation. So it's not good. And no matter what you say, he was advised at the time when he made the comments, about the relating comments, not to do that. But he did go ahead with that, and he's caused a lot of trouble and cost a lot of money, one to the football club and to other football clubs as well. Anyway, I don't know enough about it. I've only what I've read, but it seems true what they're saying, and what has happened to him since is obviously is stuff behind the scenes, because he's definitely better than Nelson and the other 2 or 3 of the other lads. So there's obviously something gone on there where he's just not being selected. I'm not sure that he fits into Arteta's team the way he plays, but at the same time, he could do a better job than some of the players that are in the squad that are supposed to do that. So, until everyone knows that the whole situation, it's very difficult, Raj, isn't it?
But I think you're spot on. I think cancelling his contract and losing that money would probably be the best money we spend in the next 12 months because
he's still got to be around the club though. They can't just rub him out like that. They'll get nicked for all sorts of other things.
If he cancels his contract, he's still got to train at the club.
It's his job of work. I think if
you buy him out of his contract, cancel his contract and pay him his last 2 years or however long left on his contract. I'm sure they've done that. I'm sure they've tried to do that. FK, what do you reckon?
Yeah, someone, I think it was Gunner Blog as part of an Athletic piece, he wrote that Ozil's contract was designed in such a way that it's so complex that actually we can't even mutually terminate because it would just cost us a huge amount of money. There's like penalty clauses in there for us, and it just becomes messy. So the biggest sign that the club could give, because they don't want him to play for us, is to just alienate him and leave him out of the squad. On Ozil, if I may, there's 2 ways to look at it. If you look at the player himself, pre-lockdown, Geoff, like you've just basically summarised, he was in every Arsenal lineup, not even squad, every Arsenal lineup under Mikel Arteta. And whether he played badly or well, forget that for 1 second. As soon as lockdown happened, he finds himself not in the squad, let alone the team, for any game, which is that in isolation is odd, right? You'd be sat there thinking something's not right. It can't just be that he's stopped being a good footballer over a 2-3 week period. Then you think about the things that are being sort of chucked out there as theories, right? So you talk about China, you talk about his backing of the poor people that are being murdered out there and brainwashed out there as part of the camps that they've got, and how Arsenal didn't comment on that. You talk about the pay cut that he refused to be part of because he didn't believe that the club were going to act in a moral and classy way. You talk about his personal life. He got married. He's become a dad. He's become a father, and maybe his mindset wasn't quite there. So many things that you just think, wow, okay, there's something here that's happened that is clearly, obviously, more than just football, right? But the way that it's been handled, I mean, the club have basically alienated him. He's not in the Europa League squad. He's not in the Premier League squad. He's on the payroll, and ultimately there is no winner. Mesut Ozil is not being taught anything. He is not learning any lessons. He is just wasting away through his own choice, through the club's choice. Arsenal, we are not battering teams week in, week out. You look at all of our heat maps after a game, there is nothing in that central number 10 position. I'm not suggesting Ozil is the answer, but to not have him as part of the squad, I think is a detrimental thing. And ultimately, my final point on this is you have to ask yourself, is the Arsenal squad better off with Ozil in it, or are we better off without Ozil? And for me, from a purely football perspective, I think we are better off having him in the squad. And this goes back to the very first point, which I'm sure you guys talked to Clive on Twitter quite a lot. He talked this morning about Arteta's main job is to maximise the talent that he has, and he very openly talked about him failing at that with Mesut Ozil. And I wonder if it's because he's too rigid with his non-negotiables that he talked about, which are to me to be admired. But when you've got a player like that who I know on his day is silk, and he doesn't have his days very often, but you can see that we're just not creating chances, that there is a big gap between middle three, front three. Aubameyang's getting annoyed, hasn't scored a goal since his new contract. Maitland-Niles, we just talked about, Geoff, going off piece for a second. He commented on Mesut Ozil being left out of the squad, hasn't been in the squad since. Weird. I just find it, there's just something, it just doesn't sit right with me. And I think from a purely football perspective, I think we've made a bit of a mistake. And I think now the case is basically we see at the end of the season, if we're hopelessly off our objectives and our targets, then questions will be asked. You've got someone who's won everything in the game, and you build your team around him. I thought maybe Xhaka, Partey, Ozil at 10. Unbelievable. That would have been so good, but clearly it's not football reasons. That's just my thoughts. Yeah. Sorry, Danny. I don't even know if I answered your question, Geoff.
No, you answered it fine. A little thank you to Carter Stage, who spent 99p and stuff it down Raj's pants, and he is now an official ABW mushroom. And all these people are going to get the keys to the ABW executive toilet on our website. I'm building it. I've made a new page, and I'm going to put all of you on there. Lots of good comments. I know if you follow me on Twitter, you see that I'm always moaning at having a dig at people who are Ozil supporters, because I just like to wind them up. For my opinion, there is nobody at the club with more skill and talent and ability to set people up than Ozil. Something is wrong, like FK was saying. He played 17 out of 18 games from the 2nd of November onwards in the league. He only missed one game, which he wasn't included. And all of those games he started, quite a lot of them towards the end, he was coming off. Some people were saying in the chat that he wasn't that great. And if you had to pick anyone of a midfield people to go ahead, you'd pick Ozil over Xhaka every time. Now Xhaka isn't needed to do the holding midfield role, and nor is Ceballos. Then you would think that Ozil could do that job.
Danny, that's the point, right? 17. I didn't know the numbers, so thanks for sharing that. 17 out of 18 games, he was not only in the squad, he was in the starting lineup. Post-lockdown, he is not in the squad, nowhere to be seen for every single game. I mean, someone has to just call it as it is. It seems bonkers to me. There is something that has clearly gone wrong. And whether that's an Arteta decision, that's a Kroenke decision, that's a China decision, that's a whatever decision. Interestingly, China have removed Ozil from all their video games, all their social media platforms. Money does control a lot of things at the end of the day. And I actually feel for Arteta, because his press conference pre-Leicester was outstanding. When he sort of joked about Ozil's role as a social media person, where he talked quite clearly about, it's a footballing decision. We tried everything we could. But it's just so obvious. How can you play 17 out of 18 games and then all of a sudden overnight be left out of every squad? I mean, it doesn't. Has that ever happened to anyone?
It's China. I'm telling you.
It has to be. Raj, it has to be. Huawei were a massive sponsor of ours.
Read that New York Times article I just posted
4 years ago. Okay, I will do. But I just think, for any of you guys listening, please feel free to comment, tweet me, whatever. But I can't see how a player was playing 17 out of 18. He wasn't injured. It's not as if he's been training. He's even tweeted, "I'm fit and ready to go for fixture X." And then all of a sudden, he's not in any squad in any game.
Look, when the NBA, the NBA, they had problems with, not problems. They had players saying stuff about China, and China said they were going to stop paying, and stop showing the NBA. And basketball in China is absolutely huge. And the NBA caved, didn't they? They gave in and did what China wanted.
I love a good conspiracy theory. It's definitely China.
Right. I hope one day we find out.
Well, maybe he'll write a book like Wenger and put fuck all in it about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we won't talk about that. Right, we're going to move on to questions, gentlemen. Thank you very much. We had a few other things we were going to talk about. Like we're going to talk about Lacazette and Aubameyang not really working at the moment, and how we think the new players are fitting in. But we'll save that for another show. Right, listeners' questions. You're going to get one each. Keep them as short as possible, because all you three need to go, and I've not had my dinner yet. So we'll start with you, Geoff, from Double D Rivoli from our Twitter. Why did everybody think it would be a cakewalk for Arteta? These defeats are part of the game, and every manager has to go through it. Do you agree?
No, I don't think everyone thought it was going to be a cakewalk. It's very difficult. Arsenal are a top 6 team now, mate, and we're fighting for top 6 as well. You got to realise that the good old days of getting to finals of the Champions League and like coming first or second for like 3 or 4 or 5 years on the trot and being in the Champions League competition for 20 odd years, them days are gone, mate. Until he could find a way to make us a little bit more reliable. But no, you got to stick with him.
Yes, so you're agreeing with Rivoli that why did they think it was okay? Well, good. Right, Travis from our Discord, I'll answer this one. It's more of a statement. I remember the good old days of #FuckEllis. It seems like we've lost our groove and we've let Ellis offer the hook. Now everybody knows Ellis is probably the best of us and goodness and wholesome and handsome because Ellis is a frontline worker for the NHS. He works at A&E in Norwich Hospital if you want to go there and shout fuck Ellis at him. So we had #FuckEllis to make us feel better about ourselves. My question is, can we please bring back fuck Ellis? #FuckEllis. You'll have to ask Carl about that because Carl is the one who invented it. Personally, Ellis is the only one who sent me a birthday card. Thank you, Ellis. Next question is going to go to you, Raj. This is from Shane_TG from our Twitter. Should we stick to the 4-3-3 formation?
Oh my God!
Oh no, actually, I'm not going to ask you that because you don't like those ones. There we go. Nick from our Discord. Why are the rule makers in football completely incompetent? Every time they tweak a rule, they make it more difficult to understand and add more grey areas. Handball was such an easy rule to understand. Is it deliberate? Yes or no? What the hell are shirt sleeve got to do with anything?
I think it's 100% deliberate in a way that they have to justify their jobs, quite simply. If they're not tweaking the rules on a yearly basis, they have got a job to justify, and I could base that on the MCC and the laws of cricket, which keep getting tweaks for no reason at all every now and again. So, I think they need to justify their 100 grand wages, so they'll tweak it. They've got no empathy for the players, so some of their tweaks are outrageous, so there you go.
Much like the scumbags that keep redesigning Twitter and Twitch and Facebook and YouTube because they're trying to justify their wages. So if they just left it alone, they would no longer have a job.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Wise words. Right. Shane TG for you, FK. Should we stick to a 4-3-3 formation for the game against Man United? And if so, I've got a tooth missing. If so, who should partner Gabriel at centre-back? Because you were saying earlier we've got lots of centre-backs. I think there might be some mileage in. We've nearly got 11 centre-backs. Just play 11 centre-backs. I think we can manage it.
Oh, mate, that is a good question. I mean, look, for me, United have got a potent front three, right? So it's about cutting the supply to them. And I think midfield-wise, they're just totally unbalanced. If they go with Fred and McTominay in the middle, which they did against Chelsea because they wanted to keep a clean sheet and be tight defensively, then we could be okay. But if they go for Pogba and Fernandes and their front three, I think we could be in a spot of bother. Do we go with a 4-3-3? I think we go with a fluid setup where we have three centre-backs. I think we'll need it. I think we'll go Tierney, left centre-back. We go Gabriel in the middle. Luiz is probably going to be unfit because he picked up a muscular strain, didn't he, against Leicester? So it's unlikely that he'll be back. In which case, whoever plays right centre-back on Thursday night might get a starting spot. So it's likely to be Mustafi. I wouldn't chuck in Saliba, as much as I think Saliba is going to be awesome. And then I think you go with sort of Bellerin, right sort of back, right wing back, Saka left back, left wing back, Xhaka party in the middle, and then you go with I would go with Aubameyang and Pepe. I mean, I can't please for the life of me, Mikel. I know you're watching. Don't pick Lacazette for Old Trafford. Their defenders are absolute trash, and I think Aubameyang against Maguire and Lindelof will have a field day. And on Aubameyang, the reason why I want to see him play centrally is because at games like at Anfield and at games like at City, you get a sniff. And if you get Lacazette in those positions on a one-on-one, I'm having flashbacks of those one-on-ones against Alisson that he had at Anfield this year. Aubameyang scoring one of those. So I think at Old Trafford, that's what we've got to do. And I would be very comfortable in going Aubameyang and Pepe. So that's my answer.
Jolly good. Thank you very much. Right, Geoff, where are we down to now? Matt L. Roberts, who is in the chat and he's on Twitter from Twitter. Why do people underestimate the Europa League? People thought it would have been a walk in the park last week and again this week. When will people learn no game is a guaranteed 3 points? Palace, Leicester, Olympiacos, Watford, all games we either lost or nearly did. So why do people take the Europa League for granted? Because I said earlier, we're not going to go there and smash 7 or 8 past teams anymore, are we?
No. I don't think they do really. I like the Europa League. It used to be brilliant. I used to like them Thursday nights at the Emirates. Honestly, I did. I enjoyed them.
Oh, you make me so sad now.
You did.
Don't talk about going to the games.
The wife and I went to every single game on a Thursday night. It was
You just
brilliant.
love football, Geoff. That's all it is. You love.
I used to really enjoy it.
Europa.
But
I miss those 10 quid.
You know what it was, didn't you? It was. I went to my first game in a decade in September last year, and then I thought, that's it. Me and Sean, we're going to start going regularly again. I've paid for my my purple membership. Then football shut down, didn't it? It's my fault. Sorry.
it's your fault. Yeah,
You're patient zero then. It came from you, not China.
Oh, I know, it's disgraceful. Right. So, question for Raj. Here we go. This has worked out all right. I don't know if you know about it. Oh, Josh from Discord. Thoughts on the new Arsenal fan card thing they've launched? Do you have any thoughts on it?
No, not heard of it. What is it?
Oh, geez, you are not going to like this, because I thought, just in case, I've gone and let me move a couple of things around. Right, this is from the Arsenal website. If you can get this done in 2 minutes, that would be great. Fans will earn loyalty points based on specific interactions with the club, which they can redeem for exclusive rewards and money can't buy Arsenal experiences. Buy Arsenal rewards will also enable members to earn rewards by spending at several affiliated high street online brands, including club partners, which will be announced in the coming months. Club partners, retailers and other businesses will also be able to get closer to our fans by offering incentives and rewards to Arsenal members directly through the programme, adding further value to the experience of being a fan of the club. It's like a Tesco's club card.
There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone's got loyalty cards, British Airways and American Express and all that, so they're just coming into it. So if you're a fan and you want to grab some points and put those points towards some
points make prizes.
Yeah, points make prizes. So it sounds fair enough to me. It's not ripping off anyone. It's your choice to partake.
It's an important thing. FK, have you got an opinion on that?
Nothing really. No opinion on it whatsoever. But I wouldn't know how it worked. Raj has probably got a good point. I mean, I think if people want to engage with the club in certain ways to see if they can get some benefits back, then yeah, why the bloody hell not? Bit like an Arsenal club card.
I'll collect British Airways points, so you know.
Of course you do. You're not going to be seen dead on an easy jet, are you?
I'll stay loyal to British Airways if they ever get back on their feet again. So, same with Arsenal. Fair enough.
I won't ask you, Geoff, because I know we want to move on. Real Madrid lost their first Champions League game. They're now currently 2-1 or 2-0. They're 2-1 down to who are they playing? They are playing Borussia Mönchengladbach. I can say that with teeth missing. So you never know. Someone has put in the chat, Real Madrid could be heading to the Europa League. Oh, imagine that. And I think we've got problems. Right. Next question is I don't know the next question. So I'm going to go to Geoff. I'm going to give you Richard, Cactus Cash from Twitter says, I've only got two more questions after this. Are you worried about Mikel's trend of putting square pegs in round holes, e.g. Willian as the false nine and Nketiah as a winger? And why is Reece Nelson not getting game time?
I do think he's overthinking some of it. I do. They've all played. There's a lot of them players that have played like kind of out of position. And I do think that they should just play them in their correct positions to give them a chance at least.
Okie doke. I like the way you answer that. Very concise.
I think he's learning about his players, isn't he, Geoff? He wants to try things out to see what works, what doesn't work. So, yeah. Trial
and error.
Yeah, I don't think it's much deeper than that. And I think he has to, right? Because he didn't have a pre-season because of sort of COVID. The end last season finished quite quick, and obviously last season it was just to make the best of what he's got. And now he wants to try new things and give players a go. And if it doesn't work out, well, hopefully the acid test is if we ever see William playing at number 9 again, we know that Arteta's off his nuts. Hopefully, just that's it, no more.
Schwinn's question is a bit long, so I'll save that for next week. Final question, you all get a chance. First of all, you all need to think of who your gentleman's nod is going to go to. But Robert Morey, who is in our YouTube chat, says, how many points do you think we will get from our next 5 games? I'm saying that slowly so I can go and get up our Premier League fixture. Boom, he's gone and done it like a pro. Our next 5, oh, come on, update, is going to... Oh, we've had loads of postponements. That can't be right. Oh, I'm going to go and have a look at who scored and see if they've got them. Well, that's wrong as well. I'm not sure because I know the Aston Villa game has been postponed because it was meant to be the day after the Europa League game. So, Man United, how many points? I'll add it up as we go along. Good luck with that. How many points are we going to do against Man United? I think we're going to lose. Anybody think we're going to get a draw or a win out of it?
I don't know. I think we can go there and we can nick something out of it. I'll be disappointed if we come away with nothing.
So the next few games coming up, we've got Man United, we've got Leeds, and we have got Wolves and Spurs. Raj, Man United, Leeds, Wolves, Spurs. How many points do you think we're going to get?
10.
Bloody hell. You just picked a random number, or did you think that through?
That's just the number of Ferrero Rochers I've got left, so I said 10.
There you go. Might as well.
No, let's see. Man United, at least a draw. Leeds or win.
At Leeds.
Or win. And
Or not,
the other
home
one?
and away doesn't matter anymore. Wolves and Spurs.
Yeah, 10. Why not say 10? I'm up for that. I'm keen.
I think you're on a sugar high, sir. FK, points, what do you reckon?
I think we'll get 10 out of 15, but we need 12 to 13 out of 15.
Only
Can't
14.
argue with that.
You only mentioned 14s there.
I think so. Put it this way, United. Oh fuck! I really want to say we'll slap them, and you know what? It's the first year I'm not going in about 15 years, and it could be that. It could be the fact that I'm not allowed in and we finally get a win because the only time we've won in the last 20 years, I've actually missed both of those games. So hopefully it could be that. So United.
Are you going to pay the $14.95 to watch it?
I could find some dodgy stream. I think. United is going to be, I think realistically, let's go a draw United, 3 points against Villa at home. So that's 4. Leeds away, maybe a draw, 5. Wolves at home, I think we'll win, 8. And then Spurs away. Fucking hell, what a run.
But it's something to look forward to.
I remember the old days that day when you didn't swear.
Do you know what?
The old days, you would have said 15 out of 15. He was that much of a git in the old days.
But look, it's two kids, a new job, a new house, and age. Yeah.
Okay. I think we're probably going to get about 8. Geoff, did you do yours? You did, didn't you? Yes.
I do think we're going to drop points at 2 of the games. I don't know which ones. It's still 4. Look at the way Villa have been playing. You know, they've been playing well, haven't they? I wasn't surprised if they turned us over. Oh God.
Martinez to save a penalty in the last minute.
Yeah, Emi Martinez pulling off a few worldies.
Real Madrid just equalised thanks to everybody in the chat. 2-2.
Yeah.
Mike Dean is the referee next Sunday.
There you go.
This is it, isn't it, Raj? I mean, fuck's sake, right? They've in something like 61 games. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has had 30 penalties or something, 32 penalties, and Arsenal have had something like 11 in that same period. And Mike Dean has given more penalties than any other ref. I mean, I'm not betting that. I'm betting in my religion, but you can bet your life that I'll be betting on a penalty being awarded to United on Sunday. Simple as that.
Right. Have we got anybody you want to say hello to? Personally, I don't. Bugger them. Geoff doesn't.
No.
Raj, FK?
Yes, at Redbourne CC. They were one of the teams in the National Village Cup final at Lords, which I umpired back in September against Colwall. They sadly lost. But they only told me most of them were Arsenal fans yesterday, which was about 2 months too late. So if they told me on the day, there might have been a few fingers going up. And if the ECB are listening, I'm only joking. But a shout out to Redbourne CC. At Redbourne CC is their Twitter handle. And Ed Hales, I think, scored one of the best hundreds I've ever seen personally as an umpire. So a shout out to him as well, and hope he's well.
Jolly good. FK?
Yeah, just a guy who sent me. I've been drinking out of this mug all night. It's like a Highbury sort of mug. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Hold on a sec. I'll do this. There you go.
There you go. Hey, and he's actually responsible for a lot of these posters on my wall here. But yeah, Matthew J.I. Wood on Twitter. So Matthew J.I. Wood. He designs these awesome mugs and posters and stuff. So if you're at a loss for a Christmas gift this year, go along to his website, and he's got some really awesome stuff. Thanks, Matthew.
I think we follow each other on the podcast Twitter account. Right, just a tiny bit. Do you want to go now, Geoff? Or have you got, we'll be done in 2 minutes?
No, yeah, 2 minutes, fine. Cool.
Lovely. I think it's only right that we say thank you very much to the people that have donated recently. Unique79, Mike Harniman, Petito 100, Sir Alan Bastard MP, and who gave us money earlier in the stream? It doesn't keep a... Oh, can someone remind me in the chat who it was? It was J-Rob. There you go. I've remembered before anybody had to come and tell me. And they were all lovely people who've stuffed lots of money down our pants. And a usual thanks to our ever-growing choir of YouTube members, Nikki Wilson, J-Rob, Bill Butler, Yemi Fash, Corey, Michael Harniman, Mike Kurtz, The Believing Gooner, Carter Stage, and Julian Salmondo from South America. And also our Twitch donators. Maggers gave us 500 bits the other day, but we don't get a notification using the software. And we've had a couple of people follow us on the Twitch, which is Ziggett, and today Jay Harrison Baker. So I've got to say thank you to all you lovely people for giving us your money and just being generally fab and groovy guys. Mike says I'm feeling optimistic today. Yes. Right, so all it leaves for me to do now is say thank you very much to all the people in the chat box. You have all been splendid. Give yourselves all a pat on the back and have an extra spoon of sugar in your drink of choice. Thank you very much to FK, you sexual chocolate lovely man. Where can people find you, FK? Maybe possibly after a game, possibly.
On Twitter.
In his front room.
Yeah, on my front room, on my sofa, on Twitter.
At home.
Get involved, block me, abuse me, tweet me, do what you got to do.
And when are you going to leave it another 3 years before you come back again?
No, hopefully not, mate. Hopefully not.
There was plans, wasn't there, for you to come on recently a few times, but then life got in the way and you couldn't make it. And one time you completely forgot.
I've been tuning in, and you've got
a couple of you.
Yeah, a couple of guys who are really, really good, and I've actually really enjoyed the content. So let's not leave it so long, as long as people still want to hear my views.
Of course they bloody do, you cheeky monkey. Right, also, Reverend Raj, is everybody forgiven for all their Arsenal-based wrongdoings so
it was
far?
fun, actually. I wouldn't mind actually rooting out one of those old pods from years ago with Geoff and others and just see how irate I was in those days and stuff like that. But
very
changed. We're still mates. I haven't seen Geoff in quite a while, but nothing changes, does it, Geoff?
That was great times, man. I'm telling you, wasn't it funny? You look back at it and you think back now, it's very, very funny.
There was so much anger and passion in those podcasts. They were glorious.
It was indeed. They're all on YouTube. Every single show we've ever done is on YouTube. Geoff,
yes, sir.
Thank you very much for doing back to back. And you're actually joining us again. We are doing a special during the international break with Amanda, Sophie, and big Kevin Campbell is hopefully going to be there. And it's going to be ABW meets the Highbury squad. And you've said you put your hand up straight away and said you'd like to be on that, didn't you?
Sounds good.
Does.
Very, very good.
Is there another international break?
Oh, yeah, in a couple of weeks.
Fucking hell. I mean, it's just honestly... Sorry, I've sworn about 7 times today.
I know. It's on the 17th, after the 10th of November, whenever that is.
Just watch the IPL. It'll be the final by then. It'll be great.
Mate, what Bellend plans international friendlies during
the FA. That's it. The FA are going to squeeze in 12 games in a week.
My blood pressure's just like going up and up.
Oh, right. We better close this before he explodes like some kind of Max Headroom person with a blip for. There you go. That's one to look up for the boys and girls out there. Thank you very much to you three wonderful human beings. It reminded me of my days when I wasn't as old, fat, or bearded. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, and we will see you all again Thursday night. Just looking at my schedule here, it's the game against Dundalk. It's going to be me and Owen from the Arsenal CRAIC, that's Irish Crack podcast, and we're going to be on, and we'll be celebrating us beating Dundalk 42-0. That is going to be a glorious time indeed. Right, everybody, thank you very much. Good night. This has been a Bergkamp Wonderland. Nanu, nanu, you cheeky monkeys. Goodbye.